Now I'm going to stick my neck out with some unpopular ideas about how government spends your money. We have to spend, the politicians say, because we're in a crisis. And if you don't believe we're in a crisis, the politicians are eager to remind you.
The situation we face could not be more serious.
We have an economic crisis, the worst since the Great Depression.
The edge of catastrophic failure.
It's frightening just to turn on the television.
Crises, financial crisis, credit crisis, home mortgage crisis.
Escalating crisis. Crisis intensified.
Housing crisis.
Housing crisis.
Economic crisis.
Unprecedented crisis.
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 Crisis. Crisis. Crisis. Crisis.
Okay, I get it. It's bad. The stock market's down and unemployment is past 8%. But what should a country do about that? The political class says, we know.
We need to act boldly.
And we need to act
aggressively and quickly.
We need a stimulus fast, and we need it big.
And so stimulus we've got, and bailouts and rescues, adding up to billions, trillions of your dollars. It's about $16,000 per worker. It's like government saying we have to take all this money from each of you and give it to cities so they'll build new roads. And here's some for hiking trails and art centers and banks, big banks, small banks, Fannie and Freddie, AIG, you need some too. Here, take it. This will stimulate the economy.
This is a jolt to the economy.
Stimulus.
This is exciting.
Some are so excited they can't get the numbers right.
500 million people will lose their jobs each month until we have an economic package.
No, 500,000.
What did I say, million?
Yes, 500. That would really be a recession.
Thank you for correcting me.
Yes.
Yet 4 days later, here she goes again.
500 million Americans lose their jobs.
But if politicians are confused, don't worry, they say. All the economists are on our side.
We have a consensus.
Every economist from right to left.
There's no disagreement.
But is that true? How many of you believe that if there were no stimulus, we'd recover sooner? These economists are among more than 300, including 3 Nobel Prize winners, who signed this petition saying, we do not believe that more government spending will help.
It's just absurd.
If you look at the price, it's enormous.
The government should, instead of increasing spending, it should cut spending.
Americans will live to rue the day that we have these policies in place.
It may surprise you that so many oppose the bailout, since we've repeatedly heard.
There's no disagreement that we need action.
But there's lots of disagreement.
How is it that government is going to be able to spend $1 in such a way that it generates $1 or more in value?
When they spend the dollar, it gets used by many people. It creates more wealth.
A more likely possibility is that $1 that government takes out of the private sector is $1 the private sector doesn't have to spend anymore.
I wanted to ask the bailout's big boosters about the economists' doubts, but they wouldn't agree to an interview. How can I reach them to ask my questions? Questions like, if too much debt got us into this mess, why is more spending good? Don't these questions deserve answers? Where are you going to get all this money? Eventually, 2 members of the leadership did agree to talk. Majority Leader Steny Hoyer and the Finance Committee's Maxine Waters. We have to do this?
Absolutely. We're in an economic crisis. Government can't sit and just twiddle its fingers.
Inaction, everybody agreed, was not an option. Now,
Everybody?
If I said every, I perhaps overstated the case. But more importantly, most of America, in polling data, said we needed to act.
But that doesn't mean they're right.
Well, no, it doesn't. But we're a democracy, and we're in the deepest recession we've seen since the Great Depression.
Since the Great Depression.
Could be worse than the Great Depression.
Politicians keep saying that.
Worst economy we've had since the Great Depression.
But unemployment was 25% during the Depression. It's 8.1% now. 27 years ago, unemployment reached almost 11%. Yet few people even remember that.
Markets go through corrections all the time.
But this one is worse, I'm told. It's going to be like the Depression.
But markets need to go through this correction.
It's a reason this group opposes the bailouts. For a market to recover, they say, it must discover its true bottom. So don't bail out failing companies. Let them fail.
No company is too big to fail. Some are too big to liquidate quickly.
What's happening now, what's making it worse, is that people don't know what's going to happen. There's so much uncertainty generated by the government spending.
So potential investors wait to see if their investment will be bailed out.
The investors on the sidelines.
A lot of investors are simply sitting on the sidelines right now.
Of course they are.
They don't know what these characters in Washington are going to do.
So the more the government does, the more private investors wait?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
The more the government does that's changing the rules and confusing the investment climate, and it's not clear which firms are going to be bailed out and which ones are going to get an extra check, they wait and see.
Millions and millions and millions of people will be helped.
The bubble was caused by too much debt.
No doubt about it.
So the answer is more debt?
Most economists believe that's the case.
Don't bubbles have to pop? It seems like you're blowing more air into the bubble.
John.
It doesn't have to find a floor so it can grow on its own?
Well, sure. But that doesn't mean that you just have to wring your hands and say you're on your own. Have you watched the stock market?
Yes, actually. And I've noticed that most every announcement of government action
Our plan will help restart the flow of credit.
Makes investors run away.
The Dow plunges as Wall Street slams today's bank announcement.
And huge government spending can create inflation. When you print many more of these, each one becomes worth much less. In the 1920s, Germany had so much inflation, people burned money to stay warm.
We will look like 1920s Germany, where you had to take a bushel basket full of money to the store in order to buy a loaf of bread. This represents a huge burden on future generations that we can't fix except by printing more money, and that's where we're headed.
What's this going to be worth when you guys are printing billions more?
It's not going to be worth as much as it was.
So all this spending, is this going to work?
I hope so.
Are you stuck in traffic today? Don't worry, the government says billions of your stimulus dollars will be spent to build new roads and fix old ones. They say they'll do it efficiently. I say, bull. Some people call their commute driving into hell.
Traffic is horrible.
Joseph Wu of Atlanta told us he has the most miserable commute in America.
Every morning.
Atlanta is America's second most congested city, says the Texas Transportation Institute.
You plan your day around traffic because you never know if there's going to be traffic or not. You have to leave an hour and 15 minutes in advance. This is why I don't drink coffee. You know, if I drank coffee, my heart would probably explode.
Comedian and game show host Drew Carey went on this radio station to search for the person with the most miserable commute in his town, Los Angeles, the most congested city in America.
Traffic goes all the way back in each direction, blocks and blocks. There's no end in sight to it. And, like a lot of places in America, it's only going to get worse.
We teamed up with Carey because he and Reason TV are doing TV programs online about big government bull. They're searching for new ways to get things done. Things like improving our daily commute. Carey and the radio station eventually decided that Los Angeles' most frustrated commuter is graphic artist Josh Lipking.
Do this every morning. Check out SigAlert, Google Traffic.
Every day, he kisses his wife goodbye.
Love you, girl.
Me too. Bye.
Have a good day.
You too.
And drives into hell.
Heart pumping in your chest. Start to sweat a little.
Josh tries to put the time he spends in traffic to good use.
One-hand flosser.
He lives only 16 miles from work, but the drive often takes him an hour and a half. What if his commute and yours didn't have to be this bad? What if someone wanted to add some lanes to this road or build us an entirely new road?
You wouldn't have as many potholes. It'd be done cheaper.